Alright, quick hello. This is an original Tales First story about a family crossing a line and learning their consequences. Let's begin.
I don't care about the child, my mother-in-law said about my 9-year-old daughter. My husband agreed. My wife is not so smart. She will sign what we need. 7 days later, their lawyer called me in a panic because what I signed was... It was the Tuesday 2 weeks before Christmas in Chicago, and my daughter Sophie was still wearing her school uniform when Linda decided to say it out loud. We were in my kitchen, while the oven preheated and Sophie tried to tape a paper snowflake to the sliding door. Linda stood by the island like she owned the place, holding a mug she didn't ask for. Tyler leaned against the fridge with that "everybody relax" face he saved for when his mother was about to get mean. Linda nodded toward Sophie without even lowering her voice. I don't care about the child. Sophie's hand stopped. The tape drooped. She didn't cry. She just blinked, like she was trying to translate what she'd heard into something less sharp. Tyler didn't correct her. He didn't even look at Sophie. He looked at me. Then Linda slid a manila folder across my counter like it was a dessert menu. This needs to be signed tonight. Tyler finally spoke. Emily, just sign it. You don't need to read all that. That was the moment I realized they weren't talking to me like a partner. They were talking to me like an obstacle. And that's when I decided I would sign. Just not what they thought. The first rule in my house used to be simple. Sophie comes first. I said it early, I said it calmly, I said it like it was as normal as taking your shoes off at the door. 2 months after I married Tyler, we hosted a small Sunday dinner. Linda arrived 40 minutes early, let herself in with the spare key Tyler forgot to tell me he'd given her, and started rearranging my living room candles. Sophie came down in leggings and a sweatshirt, hair still damp from her shower, and Linda made a sound like she'd tasted something sour. Is she going to dress like that? Linda asked Tyler, not me. Tyler smiled too fast. Mom, it's fine. Linda's eyes slid to Sophie. Honey, some people don't teach their kids standards. You'll learn. Sophie didn't answer. She just went back upstairs. I followed her, knocked on her door, and found her folding a blanket over her knees like she was building a shield. She doesn't get to talk to you like that, I said, quiet and exact. Sophie shrugged, trying to look older than 9. It's okay. She likes you more. That sentence landed in my chest and stayed there. I went downstairs and told Tyler, we're not doing comments about Sophie's clothes. Tyler kissed my cheek, as if affection could substitute for agreement. I'll handle it. He didn't handle it. He just smoothed it. And Linda learned that if she pushed, he would cushion the impact for her. 2 weeks later, the next rule appeared, disguised as a favor. We were at a craft store, Sophie and I picking out glittery ornaments for a school project, when Tyler's phone buzzed. He stepped aside and came back with that careful voice. My mom wants to help with Christmas shopping for Sophie. I smiled because I wanted peace. That's sweet, he added. She wants to be the one to take Sophie. Just them. Sophie's face tightened like she'd just swallowed a dry cracker. Do I have to? Tyler laughed lightly. No one's forcing you. But then he looked at me. Not Sophie. Me. Like this was my job to manage. So I said, we can all go together. Tyler's smile flickered. Mom said it would be easier without extra opinions. I stared at him. Without me. He raised both hands. Babe, it's just shopping. Let her feel included. I watched Sophie stare at the floor tiles, counting invisible squares. We're not doing one-on-one outings, I said. Not yet. Tyler's jaw tightened. Why are you making this a thing? And just like that, the rule in my house wasn't a rule anymore. It was negotiable. The third scene happened in my driveway, in the dark, when the air smelled like snow and exhaust. Tyler had volunteered to pick Sophie up from school because I had a late meeting. I came home to find Sophie sitting on the front steps with her backpack still on, cheeks pink from the cold. "What happened?" I asked, unlocking the door. Sophie stood up too fast. "It's fine." Inside, Tyler was on the couch, shoes on, scrolling. "Hey," he said, like it was a normal Tuesday. I set my bag down. "Why was she outside?" Tyler didn't look up. "She didn't want to come in." Sophie's voice was small. "He was on the phone with Grandma." Tyler sighed, finally setting his phone down. "Mom just asked how things were going. Sophie got sensitive." I turned to Sophie. "What did she say?" Sophie's eyes went shiny, but she forced the words out. "She said I'm lucky you married Tyler because now I have a real family and I shouldn't mess it up." Tyler rolled his eyes like a teenager. "That's not what she meant." I felt my face stay calm while everything inside me went tight. "You let her say that to Sophie." Tyler leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Emily, my mom is old school. She's not trying to hurt her." Sophie whispered. "It did hurt." Tyler looked at Sophie for half a second, then back to me. "You see? This is why I didn't want you to make rules. It makes everyone tense." I stood there, keys still in my hand, realizing that Tyler had found a way to make harm sound like my overreaction. That night, after Sophie went to bed, I asked Tyler, "Did you ever tell your mom to stop?" He reached for me like a peace offering. "Don't start. It's Christmas season." And I swallowed it, because I didn't want Sophie to see another rupture. Not after losing her dad. Tyler knew that. Linda knew that. They both used it. The fourth scene was quieter, which made it worse. We were at Linda's house for a cookie day, and she set Sophie up at the dining table with sprinkles and frosting and 2 bright overhead lights. Then she handed Tyler her phone and said, "Show her." Tyler cleared his throat. "My mom found a great financial advisor. He does family planning." I blinked. "Okay." Linda smiled like a teacher about to assign homework. "It's important. Tyler told me you inherited something after your first husband passed. You should protect the family." My mouth went dry. "That's not a dinner conversation." Linda waved a hand. "Oh, please. I know there's money set aside. Don't pretend there isn't." Sophie looked up, frosting on her fingertip, confused. Tyler said softly, "Babe, it's not a big deal. Mom just wants us to be smart." Linda leaned in. "And to be clear, any money you got because of your situation should benefit your current household, not just your child." Sophie's shoulders hunched, as if she could make herself smaller. I said, "Sophie's father's assets are for Sophie." Linda smiled without warmth. "We'll see." On the drive home, Tyler kept his voice gentle like that made it okay. "Mom's just worried. She thinks you're being rigid." "She called Sophie just your child," I said. Tyler exhaled like I was exhausting. "Emily, you take everything personally." I stared out at the wet streets, the Christmas lights blurring. "It's not personal. It's my kid." Tyler nodded, but it wasn't agreement. It was patience. The kind you use on someone you think you can outlast. By the time 2 weeks before Christmas rolled around, I had learned the pattern. Linda controlled through help. Tyler controlled through calm. Sophie absorbed everything like a sponge, then tried to wring herself out in private. And then, on that Tuesday, Linda brought the folder. The folder looked official. Tabs, sticky notes, a cover page with a law firm header. Linda placed it on my counter as if she was placing a burden. Tyler stood behind her shoulder, not quite touching her, but close enough that I could see where his loyalty lived. "What is this?" I asked. Linda's smile was thin. "Just some paperwork, a power of attorney. And a few updates to your accounts. My accounts, I repeated. Tyler's voice slid in, smooth. It's routine. If anything happens to you, I need to be able to handle things. I kept my tone even. If something happens to me, Sophie's guardian is already designated. Linda's eyes narrowed. We're not talking about custody. Don't be dramatic. We're talking about money. Sophie was at the table with markers, making a card for her teacher. She paused, listening. Tyler leaned closer to me, like he was sharing a secret. We're behind on a couple things. This will help us consolidate. Mom knows a guy. I stared at him. Behind on what things? He didn't answer. He just said, not in front of Sophie. Linda lifted her chin. She doesn't need to be involved. Sophie's marker squeaked across paper, then stopped. I asked Linda, why are you here with this? Linda's smile widened, almost proud. Because Tyler said you're not the smartest with paperwork. He said you'll sign what you need to sign if we present it properly. Tyler didn't flinch. He didn't deny it. He just said, Mom, don't say it like that. Linda shrugged. It's true. She'll sign what we need. Sophie's chair scraped back. She stood, quiet, and walked upstairs without a word. My hands stayed on the counter. Tyler, I said, did you tell her that? Tyler's eyes flicked toward the stairs, then back to me. Emily, you're making it sound evil. We're a family. Linda tapped the folder. Sign tonight. We need it before the holidays. I looked at the signature tabs, yellow flags that screamed urgency. Then I looked at Tyler, who wouldn't meet my eyes for more than a second. I nodded once. Okay. Linda's shoulders relaxed like she'd won something. And that was the moment I stopped arguing out loud and started planning in silence. I didn't sign the folder that night. I made dinner. I asked Sophie about her spelling quiz. I packed her lunch. I kissed her forehead and watched her eyes search mine like she was trying to confirm reality. After she fell asleep, Tyler tried again. He brought the folder into the bedroom and set it on the dresser like a gift. Let's just get it done, he said. I sat on the edge of the bed and folded my hands. Tell me what you're behind on. Tyler rubbed his jaw. It's complicated. Say it anyway. He exhaled. Credit cards, some personal loans, and I took out a loan to cover Mom's roof. I stared. You borrowed money for your mom's roof? Tyler's face tightened. She needed help. And you didn't tell me. He said it like a complaint. You would have freaked out. I kept my voice flat. So your solution is to have me sign a power of attorney over my assets. Tyler leaned forward, softer, like he was trying to soothe a toddler. Babe, it's not like that. It's just for convenience. Convenience for who? He glanced away. For us. I reached for the folder and flipped the first page. Dense paragraphs, legal language, and at the bottom, my name printed next to a line. I read the title twice. Durable Power of Attorney. I looked up. This gives you authority to act on my behalf. Tyler shrugged. Only if you're unavailable. And how do they define unavailable? I asked. Tyler's mouth opened, then closed. It's standard. I flipped to the next tab. A section about financial accounts. Another about real property. Another about trusts. My spine went cold. Why is there a trust section? Tyler's eyes sharpened. Because you have one. I held his gaze. Sophie has one. Tyler's voice dropped. Emily, we're married. It affects our household. I felt my hands stay steady, even as my stomach turned. Sophie's trust is not household money. Tyler's nostrils flared. You're acting like I'm a stranger. I said, right now, you are. He looked at the folder, then at me. then said the sentence that made the air change. My mom is right. You're not that smart with this stuff. That's why we're helping. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was casual. And that casualness is what made it dangerous. The next morning, the first humiliation happened, small enough that Tyler could pretend it didn't count. Sophie and I were in the car, windshield wipers slapping at sleet, when Tyler called. I put him on speaker because Sophie liked hearing his voice when he was being normal. He didn't say hello to Sophie. He said, "Emily, I told my mom you'd sign today." Sophie stared out the window, jaw tight. I said, "I'm taking Sophie to school." Tyler's tone sharpened. "You always have an excuse." Sophie's voice came out, careful. "Mom doesn't have excuses. She has stuff." Tyler paused, then laughed like it was cute. "See? She's learning manipulation from you." Sophie's cheeks flushed. She whispered, "I didn't." I cut in, calm. "Don't talk to her like that." Tyler sighed. "Put the kid away from the phone. This is adult business." Sophie's eyes widened, and she reached to turn the volume down herself, like she wanted to disappear from the conversation. I said, "We'll talk later," and hung up. That was humiliation number 1, reducing Sophie to the kid, like her existence was noise. The second one came that afternoon, more direct. I picked Sophie up from school and found Tyler already home, sitting at the kitchen table with Linda. They'd let themselves in again. Linda had brought her own pen. Sophie stopped in the doorway. Linda looked up and smiled too big. "There she is." Sophie didn't move. Tyler said, "Hey, Soph, go upstairs. We're doing paperwork." Sophie's voice was quiet but firm. "I don't want Grandma here." Linda's smile vanished. "Excuse me?" Sophie's hands clenched around her backpack straps. "You said you don't care about me." The kitchen went still. Linda's eyes snapped to me like it was my fault Sophie had ears. Tyler stood abruptly. "Sophie, that's enough. You don't speak to my mother that way." Sophie's eyes filled, but she didn't cry. "I didn't speak to her. I repeated her." Tyler's face darkened. "Upstairs. Now." Sophie looked at me like she was waiting for me to choose her out loud. I said, "Sophie, go wash your hands and start your homework. I'll be up in a minute." Her lips pressed together. She nodded once and walked away slowly, each step heavy. Linda leaned toward Tyler and didn't lower her voice. "See? She's disrespectful. That child is a problem." Tyler didn't correct her. He just looked at me and said, "Sign. Let's not drag this out." That was humiliation number 2. Tyler defending Linda against Sophie's truth. Then came the third one, the main violation, wrapped in the same fake calm. Linda opened the folder to a page I hadn't seen yet. "Here," she said, sliding it toward me. "This one gives Tyler the authority to manage the trust and any distributions." My voice stayed steady. "No!" Linda's expression hardened. "Emily, don't be stupid. The trust is money sitting there doing nothing. Tyler can invest it." "It's Sophie's," I said. Linda's eyes were flat. "I already told you. I don't care about the child. I care about family stability." Tyler nodded like that made sense. "We need it. I need it." I stared at him. "For what?" He swallowed, then said it quickly. "We're trying to buy a bigger house. And I promised Mom I'd help her with her mortgage refinancing. And there's something else." I felt my pulse stay strangely slow. "Something else." Tyler's eyes flicked to Linda, then away. "Just sign." Linda leaned in, voice sharp. "Your first husband is dead. That money isn't doing him any good." My skin went cold. "Don't say his name like that." Linda shrugged. "Truth is truth." Tyler's voice rose just a little. Emily, you're being emotional. I looked at the page again. It wasn't just a power of attorney. It was a reshuffling of authority, a way to step around the protections my late husband and I had put in place. They weren't asking me to sign paperwork. They were asking me to hand my daughter's future to people who openly didn't care if she got hurt. I slid the folder back. I'm not signing today. Tyler's face tightened. Yes, you are. I stood. No, I'm not. Linda's eyes flashed. Then you'll regret it. Tyler stepped closer to me and lowered his voice, like a threat disguised as a promise. My wife is not so smart. She will sign what we need. He said it like he was quoting himself, like he was proud. I looked at him, then at Linda, then toward the stairs where Sophie's footsteps had stopped. She was probably listening. I nodded once, slow. Okay. Tyler exhaled, relieved, and Linda's shoulders relaxed again. I walked out of the kitchen, went upstairs, and sat on the edge of Sophie's bed. She was doing math problems with shaky pencil lines. She didn't look up. Are you going to sign? I kept my voice soft. I'm going to handle it. Sophie's eyes lifted to mine, searching. Will I be okay? I put my hand over hers, steady. Yes. Then I stood, went to my closet, and pulled out the binder I kept hidden behind winter scarves, the one with Sophie's trust documents, the one Tyler didn't know I updated last year. I didn't feel angry. I felt clear, and I became very calm and very final. On Thursday morning, I didn't argue. I didn't confront. I didn't announce boundaries like a speech. I packed Sophie's lunch, braided her hair, and drove her to school like everything was normal. The sky was the color of old paper, and the radio played Christmas songs I didn't listen to. At drop-off, Sophie held my hand longer than usual. Are you mad? She asked. No, I said. I'm focused. She nodded like she understood the difference. After I watched her walk into the building, I didn't go home. I drove downtown, parked in a garage that smelled like wet concrete, and walked into a law office with a brass plaque that read Estate Planning. The receptionist smiled. Can I help you? I said, I need to see an attorney about a minor's trust and attempted financial coercion. She didn't ask me to explain in the lobby. She just nodded and handed me paperwork. Within 20 minutes, I was sitting across from a woman named Marisol, who wore glasses on a chain and had the kind of calm that made you feel safer just by proximity. She flipped through the documents I'd brought, her fingers quick and precise. You're the trustee, she said, tapping a page. And the trust has language limiting distributions to Sophie's benefit, which is good. I nodded. My husband and his mother are trying to get me to sign a power of attorney that would let him access it. Marisol's eyebrows lifted. He can't access it without your cooperation, unless you sign something that grants authority. I know, I said. That's why I'm here. I want to lock it down further. Marisol leaned back. We can add additional protections. We can formalize that no power of attorney can override trustee authority without court approval. We can place the assets in a structure that requires judicial review for any changes. I exhaled. Do it! She slid a new set of documents toward me, explained each page with short sentences, and asked me questions that mattered. Sophie's age, my late husband's intentions, any previous amendments. I answered like a person reading a grocery list, because staying calm was my only luxury. Marisol pointed to signature lines. These filings reinforce Sophie's protected interest. If someone tries to present a power of attorney, it won't grant access to this trust. And if they try something else, it creates a record. I'm also sending a formal notice to the firm listed on that packet and to the trust's custodian. So any attempt to use those packet documents against the trust gets flagged immediately. I picked up the pen. I signed. Not Linda's folder. Not Tyler's plan. I signed what made my daughter untouchable. When I walked out, my phone buzzed 3 times. Tyler. I didn't answer. I drove to Sophie's school, checked her out early, and took her to a small diner with red booths and a sticky tabletop. She ate fries like she hadn't eaten in days. Are we in trouble? She asked, ketchup on her lip. No, I said. We're setting rules that actually work. She looked relieved, then worried again. Is Tyler mad? I don't know, I said. But his feelings aren't the priority. Sophie nodded slowly, like she was practicing the idea. When we got home, Tyler's car was in the driveway. Linda's was behind it. I walked Sophie inside, hung her coat, and said softly, "Go upstairs and change into something comfy. If you hear voices, you stay in your room. Okay?" Sophie's eyes widened. Okay. Then I walked into the kitchen and found Tyler and Linda sitting at my table again. My table, with the folder open like a weapon. Tyler stood up. Where were you? I set my purse down carefully. Out. Linda's eyes narrowed. Did you sign? I smiled a little. Not warm, just controlled. I signed. Tyler's shoulders loosened. Good. Linda pushed the folder toward me. Then sign these too. I didn't touch it. Tyler frowned. What do you mean you signed? I met his eyes. I mean, I handled Sophie's trust. Linda's face went still. What did you do? I didn't explain. I didn't need to. Tyler stepped closer, voice rising. Emily, you can't just make legal changes without even telling me. I tilted my head. Watch me. That's when Tyler made his first real move. Not heroic, not brave, but real. He looked at Linda and said, Mom, maybe you should go. Linda whipped her head toward him. Excuse me? Tyler's voice was shaky. Just go home. For now. Linda stood so fast her chair scraped. You're choosing her over your own mother. Tyler didn't answer. His jaw clenched, and he looked at the floor like a man realizing he'd been trained. Linda grabbed her purse. Fine, but don't expect me to help you when this blows up. She walked out, slamming the door hard enough that the Christmas cards on the counter shifted. Tyler turned to me, breath tight. What did you do? I picked up my phone, opened my email, and showed him the confirmation from Marisol's office. Nothing detailed, just enough to prove action. Tyler's face went pale. You locked it. I nodded. Yes. He swallowed. My mom is going to freak out. I said, let her. Tyler stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You're going to ruin Christmas. I didn't raise my voice. You already did. Upstairs, the floor creaked. Sophie had shifted in her room. I looked at Tyler, still calm. We'll talk, but not with your mother here, and not while you're still pretending this was help. 7 days later, I was rinsing a mug at the sink when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? A man's voice came through, fast and clipped. Is this Emily? Yes. I'm an attorney with the firm listed on that power of attorney packet. I need to speak with Tyler immediately. There's a serious problem with those documents. Tyler's head snapped up, confused. I held the phone out. He took it. Yes, he said, voice tight. This is Tyler. A pause. His face changed again. Confused, then worried, then scared. He swallowed hard. What do you mean? Lawyer. And I knew the dominoes had started falling. Tyler listened for less than a minute, then pulled the phone away from his ear and stared at it like it had insulted him. He ended the call. That was some attorney. I leaned against the counter. From where? Tyler's voice was strained. From the firm on Mom's paperwork. I nodded once. Okay, Tyler looked at me, eyes wide. He said they received notice. Something about the trust being protected and any POA being invalid for it. He sounded rattled, like he was trying not to panic. I didn't react. I just said, he should. Tyler's hands started to shake. Then he shoved them into his pockets like he could hide the truth in fabric. Emily, why would they call me? Because someone tried to do something that triggered a legal response, I said. And they were sloppy. Tyler's face flushed. My mom wouldn't, I cut in, still calm. Your mom brought papers to my house, told me she didn't care about Sophie, and asked me to sign control away. Whatever she wouldn't do, she already did. He opened his mouth, closed it. Then his phone rang again. He answered with a forced calm that didn't match his eyes. Hello? This time I heard the other voice faintly through the speaker, fast, clipped, professional. Tyler's shoulders slumped. Yes, I understand. He looked at me like he wanted me to fix it for him. I didn't. He said into the phone, No, I did not tell my mother to forge anything. His eyes snapped to mine. Forge. The word hit the air like a dropped plate. He went quiet, listened, then said, Okay, I'll tell her. He hung up and stared at the floor. They think someone tried to falsify a signature on one of the forms tied to that packet, he whispered. I blinked slowly. On what? Tyler's throat bobbed. On a beneficiary change. Or a distribution request. I don't know. He wouldn't say much. Just that they're withdrawing from representation and documenting everything. I pictured Linda's confident smile, her manila folder, her yellow sticky tabs. My voice stayed even. So, the lawyer is backing away. Tyler nodded, swallowing hard. And they called you in a panic, I said. He looked up sharply, like he realized the sentence matched something he'd heard before. Emily. I pushed off the counter. I need you to sit. He did, slowly, like his knees had finally gotten the message. I walked to the stairs and called up, Sophie, you can come down now. Sophie appeared at the top, pajama pants and a hoodie, hair half loose. She held the banister like it was an anchor. It's okay, I said. Come sit with me. She came down and sat beside me on the couch. Tyler stared at her like he didn't know what to say. Sophie didn't look at him. She looked at me. Are we safe? I nodded. Yes. The next scene came the following morning, Friday, when snow started falling in thick clumps and the city turned quiet in that way it only does when the weather demands respect. I dropped Sophie at school and came home to find Tyler already gone. Not to work. His car was gone too. On the kitchen table, he'd left the folder, open, like a dare. I didn't touch it with my bare hands this time. I took pictures of every page with my phone, slow and thorough, capturing signatures, dates, notary stamps. Then I slid it into a zip bag, sealed it, and put it in my file drawer beside Sophie's birth certificate. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. I'm at Mom's. We need to talk tonight. I typed back. We can talk here. Without her. A minute later. She's freaking out. You didn't have to do this. I stared at the screen, then typed, You did this. No more words. No more explaining. At noon, I got a call from Sophie's school. This is the front office, a woman said. Linda, your mother-in-law, came to pick Sophie up. She's not on the approved list. We didn't release her. My hand tightened around the phone. Thank you. Please don't, under any circumstances. The woman's voice stayed professional. She was upset. She said Tyler gave her permission. I'm Sophie's mother and legal guardian, I said. Not Tyler. Not Linda. There was a pause. Understood. We'll make a note. When I hung up, I didn't panic. I did something quieter. I drove to the school and updated the pickup list in person, adding a password phrase Sophie and I chose on the spot, 2 words that meant safety. Then I sat in my car and called Marisol. I need to document an attempted unauthorized school pickup, I said. Marisol didn't sound surprised. Email me the details. Keep it factual. Date, time, who said what. I did, from the parking lot, while my breath fogged the windshield. This was the second front I hadn't expected. Linda wasn't just after money. She was after access, the kind that makes you feel powerful. And she'd just shown me how far she'd go. That evening, Tyler came home alone. His face looked older, like stress had pressed down on him all day. He stood in the doorway and said, "Emily, can we not do this in front of Sophie?" I glanced toward the living room where Sophie was coloring quietly. "She already knows. You just haven't caught up." Tyler's shoulders dropped. "My mom said you're turning her into a weapon." Sophie's head lifted, eyes sharp. I said, "Sophie is a person." Tyler looked at Sophie finally. "Hey, Soph." Sophie didn't answer. Tyler swallowed. "Mom went to your school." I didn't widen my eyes. I didn't gasp. I just nodded. "Yes." Tyler's face tightened. "She said she was just trying to help." I walked to the drawer, pulled out the folder in the zip bag, and set it on the table between us. "This is what help looks like in your family." Tyler stared at it. "Emily." I held up my hand. "No, listen. Your mom attempted to remove my child from her school without permission. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a boundary violation." Tyler's voice cracked. "She didn't mean," I cut in. "Intent doesn't undo impact, and it doesn't undo patterns." Tyler sank into a chair. "The lawyer dropped her," he said quietly. "He said he can't be involved if there's fraud." I waited. Tyler looked up, eyes wet but not dramatic. "She forged something, Emily. I think she forged my name." The room went silent. Sophie's crayon paused. I said, "Did you know?" Tyler shook his head fast. "No, I swear. She told me it was routine." I nodded once. "That's what you told me." Tyler flinched like I'd slapped him with truth. I said, "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay somewhere else for now." Tyler's mouth fell open. "What?" I kept my voice low. "You can stay with your mom, or a friend, but you're not sleeping here while you're still tied to her choices." Tyler's hands gripped the edge of the table. "Emily, please. It's Christmas." I looked at Sophie, then back at him. "That's exactly why." Tyler stood, paced once, then stopped like he'd hit an invisible wall. "If I leave, you'll tell everyone." "I'll tell the truth if I have to," I said. "But I'm not running a smear campaign. I'm protecting my kid." Tyler's eyes darted toward Sophie. She stared at him with a look that wasn't anger. It was disappointment. Too old for 9. He whispered, "I didn't think she'd go that far." I said, "You didn't think because thinking would have required you to stop her." Tyler's shoulders sagged. "Can I at least say goodbye?" I nodded. He walked to Sophie, crouched in front of her. "Hey," he said, voice soft. "I'm sorry." Sophie's lips pressed together. "Are you still on her side?" Tyler swallowed. I don't know how to do this." Sophie nodded like that was the answer. "Then you shouldn't be the one deciding stuff." Tyler's eyes closed for a second. He stood, grabbed a bag from the closet, and left without another argument. The next domino fell the day after, Saturday, when Linda texted me a message that tried to sound sweet. "Emily, honey, let's meet. We can fix this. Tyler is upset and you're overreacting. Bring Sophie to my house for cocoa." I didn't respond. An hour later, she sent another. You're keeping my granddaughter from me. I stared at the word granddaughter. Linda had never called Sophie that before. Not once. I typed one message, short and factual. Do not contact Sophie directly. Do not come to her school. Communication goes through me. Then I muted her. By afternoon, the financial domino hit. Tyler's paycheck usually went into our joint account. That day, it didn't. Instead, I got an alert. Tyler had opened a new account and redirected his deposit. It wasn't clever. It was panic. He texted, "Mom says you'll freeze me out. I need to protect myself." I stared at the screen and felt nothing but clarity. I replied, "I'm not freezing you out. I'm separating what you already tried to take." Then I walked to my desk and opened every shared subscription. Streaming, cell plan, the family credit card Tyler insisted was easier. I didn't cancel to punish. I canceled to stop leakage. I left Tyler's phone line active for 7 days, just enough time to transfer, then set it to end. That evening, Tyler showed up at the door, eyes red, shoulders tight. "You canceled my card." I kept my voice steady. "I canceled access to my credit." Tyler's mouth opened, then he stopped. "Mom said you'd do this." I nodded. Mom is right about one thing. I'm done being used. He stared at me. "Where am I supposed to go?" I didn't soften. "That's for you to figure out. You had time to plan when you were planning behind my back." Tyler flinched. "Emily, I love you." I looked at him for a long second. Love doesn't sound like she'll sign what we need. Tyler's face crumpled. He looked past me into the house, where Sophie stood halfway down the stairs, watching. He whispered, "Can I talk to her?" I shook my head. "Not tonight." Tyler nodded slowly, like he knew he'd earned that. No, he walked away, shoulders hunched, and didn't slam the door. That was his smallest real step, accepting a boundary without breaking something. The next domino was family reputation, and it happened fast because Linda couldn't stand losing control quietly. Sunday morning, my phone lit up with messages from Tyler's aunt, his cousin, even his older brother. "Linda says you stole Tyler's money. Linda says you're keeping Sophie from her. Linda says you're mentally unstable." I didn't respond to any of them right away. I read them, took screenshots, and saved them in a folder labeled Facts. Then I wrote one message in the family group chat Tyler had added me to months ago, a chat I'd barely used because Linda dominated it with memes and guilt. I kept it short, factual, no emotions. "Hi, everyone. Linda attempted to remove Sophie from school on Friday without being authorized. Tyler and Linda brought paperwork to my home attempting to gain control of Sophie's trust. I met with an estate attorney and secured additional protections for Sophie. For safety, Linda is not permitted to contact Sophie directly or pick her up. Please do not relay messages to Sophie. Thanks." Then I put my phone down. Within minutes, Linda replied in all caps, "How dare you? You're lying." Then Tyler's aunt replied, "Linda, did you go to the school?" Silence. Then Tyler's cousin, "Why would you try to pick up a child you're not authorized to pick up?" More silence. Then Tyler's brother, "Mom, answer the question." Linda sent one more message. "You're all turning on me because of her." And that was the moment her power shifted. Not because I attacked her, because she had no calm facts to counter mine. By Monday, Tyler came to the house with a small gift bag and a nervous expression. He stood on the porch like a guest. "I brought Sophie something," he said. I didn't move aside. "Say what you need to say first." Tyler swallowed. "My mom told me to come here and get you to sign another thing. She said it'll fix it." I told her no. I held his gaze. "You told her no." He nodded. "I did." I waited. Tyler took a breath. "And I told her she can't go near Sophie's school again." My throat tightened for half a second. Then I released it. Okay. He looked down at the gift bag. Can I give this to Sophie? I stepped aside. 2 minutes. Living room only. Tyler nodded like he'd accept any terms if it meant a chance. Sophie came in, cautious, and Tyler handed her the bag. It was a small stuffed fox and a gift card to her favorite bookstore. Sophie looked up at him. Did you tell Grandma she was wrong? Tyler's eyes shone. Yes. Sophie stared for a beat, then nodded once. Okay. That was all she gave him. Not forgiveness, not warmth, just acknowledgement of a step. When Tyler left, he didn't ask for more. On Christmas Eve, Sophie and I started a new tradition on purpose. We drove through the north side to look at lights, got hot chocolate, and listened to a silly audiobook in the car. No big speeches, just safety wrapped in normal. When we got home, my phone buzzed once. A message from Linda, sent from a new number. Merry Christmas. You can't keep him forever. I stared at it, then blocked the number. Sophie looked up from the couch. Who was that? I didn't lie. Linda. Sophie's shoulders tightened. What did she say? I chose calm honesty. She's unhappy she can't control things. Sophie nodded slowly, then went back to her book. That was the win. Not fireworks, not revenge. Just a child returning to her own life. A week later, Tyler met me at a coffee shop to talk logistics. He looked exhausted, like someone who'd realized peace costs something. I'm moving into a short-term rental, he said. I'm going to therapy, and I signed something saying I won't pursue any claim to Sophie's trust. I raised my eyebrows. You did that voluntarily? He nodded. Marisol sent it. I read it. I signed. I took a sip of coffee. Okay. Tyler's eyes searched mine. Do you think we can ever fix this? I didn't rush to comfort him. I don't know, but Sophie and I are safe now. That's the foundation. Everything else is optional. Tyler nodded, swallowing hard, and for the first time, he didn't argue with the word optional. When I picked Sophie up from school that afternoon, she ran to me with her backpack bouncing and said, Mom, guess what? I got invited to the art club. I smiled. That's amazing. She grabbed my hand. Can we celebrate with pizza? We can, I said. And we will. We walked to the car under a pale winter sun, and the world felt steady again. Not perfect, not painless, but ours. And I'll ask you one thing. If someone told you they didn't care about your child, would you wait for them to prove it twice? Or would you do the quiet move the first time? Comment below and subscribe for more stories.